Welcome to episode 4 of our podcast series, The Digital Marketing Journey of a Successful Restaurant. We have created in the last few episodes a roadmap to help your restaurant thrive in today's competitive market. In today's concluding episode of our 4-part series, we are diving into 3 solid ways in which to drive sales growth for your restaurant. Whether you're looking to boost your customer base or encourage repeat business or even increase your average check size, we will cover your objectives in today's episode. Now, imagine that you want to grow your restaurant sales by 10% over the next 12 months. It's achievable if you focus on the 3 key areas. First, attracting new customers to your restaurant. Second, encouraging more repeat visits from existing customers. And finally, if there are ways to increase the average check amount that your customers spend with you, that's also a great way to drive overall sales growth. We'll start first with how to get more new customers. Peter will share insights into optimizing your online presence and tailoring your marketing efforts to attract fresh faces to your restaurant. And if you're wondering about the digital presence, please listen to our first episode, which is dedicated to the topic of maximizing digital presence of your restaurant. After Peter, I'll invite Elena to talk about strategies to boost repeat business. And finally, we'll turn back to Peter to discuss how to increase the average check size. So stay tuned as we explore these strategies. And now I'm thrilled to welcome Peter, my co founder and our in house veteran of all things digital marketing. Welcome, Peter.
Hey, Anurag, how are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. I'm also thrilled to welcome Elena, our leader for marketing automation and AI integration. Hi, Elena.
Hi, Anurag. Hi, Peter.
Hi.
Okay, let's get started. Peter, can you jump in and describe for our customers how they can acquire more new customers for their restaurants?
Sure. Hey, maybe even before we jump into how to acquire new customers, let's talk for just a minute on why it's so important. So, just this morning, I was looking at some research, some Pew research, and 12.5% of Americans move every year. So, imagine if you just want to hold your restaurant's revenue even, you're going to lose 12.5% of your revenue because it's going to move away from your restaurant, right? So if perhaps you want to hold on to that 12% and grow another 10% next year, but holding on isn't good enough because of the move out rate of the customers that you have. So first, I can refer you to our episode 2 of this recent podcast where we talked about findability for your restaurant. So probably key, maybe even most important, is that your restaurant online is findable. So have your business listings been optimized properly? Are they accurate? Do they contain good images? Are they updated across all the 50 plus sites that I mentioned before, including the big ones, Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Bing, Yelp, TripAdvisor? That's probably the number one thing you can do to be certain that your restaurant at least can be found when a consumer is looking for someplace to eat, and in particular, in the case of your restaurant, a new place to eat if they aren't currently a customer. So I'd say that's key and most important. Secondly, you've got to be active on your social media, and to reach new customers, you got to invest in boosting your posts. That can be done inexpensively. You can boost posts for as little as $5 a day. You can buy ads on Google to direct consumers to your restaurant for as little as $5 per day. So imagine you could have a pretty darn good local campaign going with boosting and advertising for $70 per week. Third thing would be to grow your email and SMS opt-in lists, right? So building your own opt-in list for SMS is important, but it requires a lot of expertise and a lot of compliance considerations. You can learn to do that yourself or turn it over to an expert like Platter, but make sure that you comply with all the regulations for both email and SMS. You can look into our episode 2 where we discuss that in more detail too. But growing an email list, growing an SMS list, key for your business and for bringing new customers in. Next would be tailoring your marketing programs both specials and promos for new customers. So imagine if you had introductory discounts and offers and special pricing for new customers, of course, that would be helpful to your restaurant. Many of our restaurants use a technology that we've created, which is a single-use coupon. So if you want to make sure that the consumer's only using is a new consumer and only using the coupon for your restaurant once, we've got a single-use coupon method that you can utilize to invite consumers in, give them the discount for the new consumer, and yet they can't repeat that same discount time and time again. Another idea would be event nights. So hosting theme nights like karaoke night, live music, and different sorts of live music. Pop music one time on one event, maybe country on another event, brings a different sort of audience in, and it warms up your restaurant to different sorts of consumers coming into it. Wine tasting, another idea where you could bring in a different sort of consumer that you don't usually have at the restaurant. What's interesting about that is not only does it invite new consumers into your restaurant, but they tend to bring friends, so your total ticket is going to go up because there's multiple people coming in.
Right.
Another thing to consider would be seasonal menus. So an example of seasonal menus and what you can do with them is to introduce seasonal dishes, limit the time that those menus are going to be created, and try to entice consumers to try something new for your restaurant, and specifically try your restaurant where they can get that something new. And then you hope later to be able to get those to be repeat customers for you. And the last thing would be to get involved in your community, right? So community events, so participating in sponsoring local events, local festivals to increase the visibility of your restaurant in general. And in all of these events, if you could stick a QR code on all the material that invites the consumer back to your restaurant, good thing to do. So if you're sponsoring a Little League team, one thing to sponsor and get your name on their uniforms, of course. But why not in the flyers that go out to the parents have a QR code that directs the parents back to your restaurant and your menu, as an example. Another good idea, which we've used with many of our platter clients, is to find local food bloggers in your community. So let's say you're in Southern California, home of a lot of great Mexican restaurants. There's lots of individual local food bloggers there that you could invite to come dine at your restaurant and then blog about you when they share their experience with all of their followers and invite consumers into your restaurant. And then lastly, something to consider would be think about partnering with local businesses. So if you've got businesses in, let's say you're in a strip mall as an example, and also in the strip mall is a gym. Partner with the gym, put your QR code up at the gym to invite the consumer down for lunch at your place or dinner at your place, which is their shopper, but not yet your customer.
Wow, great insights, Peter. I really love the ideas about the community collaboration where you would work with local influencers like food bloggers. I've seen that happen in some places, but not often enough. I think finding local bloggers, micro bloggers that have 1,000 or more followers is probably a great idea.
Often they can be influenced to blog and post about you just for the meal, right?
Yeah.
So certainly worth inviting them in.
Thank you, Peter. Let me turn to you, Elena. Isn't it equally interesting for a restaurant to increase business from its repeat customers, right? So what does it take to grow sales from repeat customers?
Thanks, Anurag. It's really interesting, everything we've listened from Peter, and I think some of those strategies can be used as well for gathering repeaters. So let me dive into something super important for boosting your restaurant sales. It's a big deal. Did you know people eat at their favorite restaurant in a range about 4 to 10 times a year? So getting them to come just one more time can make a huge difference. And restaurants can really benefit from focusing on ways to get regulars back more often. So the trick part is changing people's habits, which means that you've got to give them a good reason to come back. This is where consistent marketing and high value promotions come in. You need to remind your customers about you.
Right.
They need to have your restaurant top of their minds. If I can give you or our audience 3 tried and true strategies to get the regulars coming back. Number 1 would be to reward and remind your customers to come again. And that implies, for example, to run special promos just for them, to throw in a coupon or an offer with online orders to get them to order again or visit the restaurant.
Sure.
And then keeping reminding them with emails and social media posts about relevant information like today's lunch special or a new item in the menu. And when it comes to email, make sure that you make it personal so they feel special and appreciated. So you can keep information that they give you to personalize their emails and give them a personal treatment. If they order online from you and you have some information about their preferences, you can also include that into the emails. If we move to the number 2 strategy, I think that will be to keep it interesting, to innovate with new offerings and experiences. So if you want customers to change their behavior towards going more to your restaurant or ordering more from you, you need to shake things up at your restaurants as well. So offering new experiences is key. If we look at the available data, according to a study by Eventbrite, 67% of millennials go to events mainly for the unique experience. So what can you do about it? Peter already mentioned, you can do special event nights. You can do seasonal menus, time limited, so they have the urgency to don't miss it, right? So they go back there, or they just want to have another nice experience at your place with karaoke nights or all the other events that Peter was mentioning. And number 3 strategy is community engagement. And we've also mentioned this before. You need to build a strong connection with your local community because that can foster loyalty and repeat business. According to Small Business Trends, 82% of people are more likely to support businesses that give back to local causes. And that's just normal. If you see that they're participating in your daily life, you will be thinking of them when you want to go. So things like joining or sponsoring local events and festivals to get noticed and engage with the community is something that every restaurant can do. Or even invite local influencers, as you and Peter were discussing before, right?
Sure.
Get local food bloggers, social media influencers, and then they will share their experiences, and that will bring. And you were mentioning this for bringing new customers, but also people, if they've been at your place and then they read about an influencer's experience, they feel identified with that and they want to go back again and see if it's the same experience, something different, similar to what the influencer is talking about. Okay, and finally, please ask for feedback from your customers and respond quickly. It shows you care about their opinions and helps improve your service. So according to a study, 91% of consumers are more likely to return to your restaurant if you respond promptly. Well, use these strategies to get your regulars back more often and watch your restaurant's sales grow.
Great stuff, Elena. It just occurs to me that everything that you're talking about has such a big overlap with what Peter talked about for getting new customers. The same strategies, whether it's community marketing or whether it's email marketing or whether it's search engine optimization or if it's social media posting, they work for new customers and old customers. The small differences are if you want to reach new customers on social media, you have to buy a greater reach than just your followers, right? I'd like to see more restaurants trying on new things. Elena touched on a really important point. If you want new customers, if you want more business, if you want your customer base and sales to grow, then the restaurant has to grow in some ways. Great ideas, Peter, on events. We have examples of customers in the Atlanta area. They add events pretty regularly. Um, and we've seen that some of the events work really well. The karaoke night is working really well for this chain. And so many of their franchises are adopting more karaoke nights and live music nights. Anyway, great ideas, guys. We've covered how to get new customers and how to get repeat visits from your existing customers. And the good news is a lot of the strategies that you discussed, Elena and Peter, overlaps. So you can do the same strategy and modify it slightly to address new customer acquisition or keep it a certain way for getting repeat customers.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Peter, let me come back to you. Restaurants may be underachieving on their average customer check. Is it possible, and are there strategies that customers can adopt to increase the average check size?
Sure. So if you think about what we're talking about today, getting new customers, keeping your customers that you've then acquired loyal, then really the only other way that you can increase your revenue with that base is to get more revenue per ticket, right? More revenue per order that they come through. So there are ways that we offer our restaurants to help them increase their ticket size. We've talked about ways of getting new customers, attracting loyal customers. Let me just go back for 1 second before we talk about more revenue from the existing customers, right? A million years ago, I remember studying brand loyalty. And one of the things that always stuck with me with brand loyalty was how loyal consumers were to their toothpaste. Something like 95% of us use the toothpaste today that our parents gave us when we were kids, right? So crazy high brand loyalty. It takes a lot to get a consumer to switch his toothpaste. Well, it's similar for a restaurant. If you think about the restaurant consumer, they're not going to a different restaurant every time they go out. They're going to the same 4 or 5 restaurants every time they go out all year long. To get them to switch takes something unique. And that's what Elena and I were both talking about earlier. You've got to have some unique things going on that incent the consumer that isn't at your restaurant. Now, so if you can get a higher check size from your consumer, of course, that's a great way to grow your business. And that depends on what you do with your offering, what your competition's doing, what the consumer buying behavior is. Here's some examples, right? So just easy things that you could execute. If you have liquor and wine at your location, you could do half price wine bottles on a specific night of the week to attract value seekers that would select your restaurant over another. The thing I like about wine, half price bottles of wine, is it incents usually at least 4 people. So often the person that takes you up on that would be new to the restaurant, but it's likely to be 2 couples coming in. Now you're serving 4 people instead of your average 2, and your ticket size is going to go up. Make sense? Another would be live music nights, especially live music nights that are different than your typical music. So perhaps if you're a Mexican restaurant, of course, mariachis on Cinco de Mayo are the thing to do. But if you wanted to attract a different audience, what about a Western band, as an example, on a Wednesday or Thursday or Friday night, right? The live music with a different sort of band entices a different type of consumer to your restaurant than you might normally get. And live music tend to attract larger crowds. Again, more than one person coming, usually 1, 2, 3, 4 couples coming. They're able to stay longer, eat more, and drink more. So not so much that these 3 ideas are the ideas. The point is you ought to be looking at every way possible to incent your consumer that you do get to the store to spend as much money as possible. And a lot of times that ties back to spending time at your restaurant or incenting them into your restaurant with something other than just food. So I use in that example the wine or the live music as an example, or karaoke night or samba night. You know, we have somebody in there doing dance lessons and that sort of thing as an example.
Right. Peter, it just occurs to me that you could get more people who drive down the average check size per seat.
Well, remember, it would drive it down per seat, but it would drive it up in total for the total ticket, right? So if you've got an offer that incents more consumers. So If
Yeah.
you've got a family meal for a prefix price, let's say $70, family meal serves 4 to 6. Well, you know you're going to get 4 to 6 people instead of your average seating, which is 2. So you're right away you're going to serve more drinks, you're going to serve more desserts, you're going to serve more appetizers, so on and so forth. So it's all in an effort to try to get the total ticket price up, and using, let's go back to the buy one get one. If you think that your food cost is maybe 30% and you're giving away one BOGO, right? So now you're getting 6 consumers, 4 extra consumers using that example, and all you've done is give away 30% of one meal total.
So great insights, guys. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Elena. That concludes our 4th episode in our series of the digital marketing journey of a successful restaurant. We have covered a lot of ground with great insights in these 4 episodes. Please listen to them. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any questions or if you want us to cover any topics that are of interest to you. In the coming episodes, we'll dive into specific topics based on feedback from you or from our existing customers and listeners, and produce great content and great insight for you. Until then, goodbye. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Elena.
Thank you.
Thank you. And well, talk to you soon.